Hello and welcome to episode 25 of the She.Must.Knit podcast. My name is Erin and thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. I hope you guys had a great week. I've had a really wonderful week. Last episode I mentioned how I was getting ready for the Kitchener-Waterloo Knitters Fair the very next day, and I went to the show and it was a wonderful show, and if you came, thank you so much for coming by and saying hi. That is the last show for me for this season, so I am back to my regular schedule, my regular routine, and I could not be happier. I'm really hoping that this means that I can get back to a lot of those projects that I put aside, just for easier projects over the summer, or smaller projects, or just, I just had less knitting time. So I'm anxious to get back to those. And then also I just wanted to mention that all the stuff that I've been working on over the past couple months for my various shows, everything that is left over is now on my website. And there are quite a few sock blanks and new yarn colors and lots and lots of bags. So everything is on my site. So let's get started with today's episode. What do I have for you? I have progress that I've made on one of my projects. I have a new cast on. I have a pattern highlight today. And then I have the collection as well as a vote for next week. So I'm just going to have a quick sip of my tea. And I was debating today. I was this close to making like hot tea. We had a bit of a cold snap that last week, and it really kind of like shifted my, I was all ready to start, with the sweaters and the hats and the mitts and, getting those ready and Christmas presents and all that stuff. And so I was all set to start making hot tea, and then it's warmed up again, so I'm back to iced tea. So that's what we have for today. But I do have some fun stuff, and I'm going to start with the project that I've been working on. So last week, so after the weekend, after we had the show, and I came back, and the first couple of days are always spent kind of putting things away, taking photographs, reorganizing my studio space around here. It was just like a disaster zone. Like I could not. So I had to work. I've been working on that for a few days. But when I did have time to knit, I started to get my afternoon, like after lunch, I get a little time to knit before Avery comes home from school. When I started to get back to having that time again, I was like, what do I want to work on? I don't know. Like I was debating, should I work on my Jerona top? I really, really want to get that done before the weather is just too cold to wear it. But it's at a place where I'm right in the middle of the lace repeat that's getting a little bit where I have to concentrate. So I wasn't really in the mind frame for that, and then I was like, should I just work on my socks? But I was like, I don't just want to work on my socks. Usually that's an evening thing. So I decided to bring out a project that I've only worked on really on and off in the past year, and work on that. I think I want to get it done this month. It's the perfect time to be wearing this as soon as the weather gets colder, and I think I want to finish this. So I brought out my Atelier sweater. I think the last time I showed this to you was like episode 1 or 2 or something like that. I haven't touched it like all spring and summer. But like I said, we're getting to where the weather's getting a little crisper, and I think it's just going to be the perfect time to wear this. So the last time I showed it to you, I've done basically from the little octopus there up to here. That's what I've worked on this week. And it doesn't seem like a ton, but I mean there's a lot of stitches. This is a garment. It's a cardigan, and it's done, like, obviously, like, the backs and sides and all that are done on one side. So there are quite a lot of stitches on these needle for me to get through. And I'm also there isn't really a pattern, but there's both increases happening, there's decreases happening along the sides, and then increases happening in the middle to keep the stitch count the same, but to still create some shaping along the front. So I've had to keep track of that, but it's just been enough that I can keep track of it without difficulty, but it's still a very pleasant knit without too much thinking. Last time I showed this to you, I had not yet got to this garter band. This falls kind of in the middle of the back, and then right after that, so I've just finished doing the row where you do a whole bunch of increases to help it flow over the back and create some extra fabric. So now I'm at the point where I think I can just knit straight down, still doing those increases and decreases to keep the shaping going until I get to the length that I want. The pattern is written to have pockets. I don't think I'm going to do the pockets. Part of it is just because I want it to be a little sleeker. Like, I find they're big pockets, and I don't want the bulk added at the bottom. And then also they're like incorporated into the design, and I just, you know what, at this point I just don't want to think about it. I just want this done. And I think one of the saving graces for this pattern to actually get done is that the sleeves were knit as part of, like, they weren't knit after. You had to do the sleeves before you could do the body. And if you know my history, sleeves hold me up. If I get to the sleeves, something can sit for months and months and months because I don't want to do the sleeves. A lot of the things I've made for Avery don't have sleeves. I don't like sleeves. So the fact that the sleeves are already done, I can kind of already see that, you know, that light at the end of the tunnel. I'm like, I just have to keep knitting. I just have to get the body done, and it will be done. So I think I will finish this. I really, really love the color. The yarn is it's one by Richard DeVries. I think I have it here. Isn't that convenient? I bought this years and years ago. This is their Merino Superwash Worsted, and the color is Bejeweled. And I just love how many colors are in here. Like, I think this will just go with so many things. I really, really hope I wear it. I think the shaping is very flattering. Like, when I look at all the project pictures, it really looks nice on everybody. So yeah, I have high hopes for this. We know my pattern with garments. It's not great. I have high hopes for this. It's just, oh, it's so pretty. So this is what I've been working on, and I did make a decent amount of progress on that. I feel I made a decent amount of progress. And now that I have kind of all that that background stuff, like just organizing and getting all the website stuff and putting all my show stuff away, and like that takes time. Now that that's all done, I feel like I'll be able to put even more of a dent in that over this coming week. So I'm excited. Like, I don't want to say I'm going to be wearing it on the next episode. That's just going to totally jinx me, but that would be nice, right? Wouldn't that be nice if I could wear it for the next episode? We'll see. We'll see. We'll just have to see how much time I have. So aside from that, the other thing that I was working on was the new project that I mentioned on the last episode. I had shown a soon-to-be cast on that I was hoping to start, and I did in fact start it. So this was the yarn here, and this was, oh my god, it's so bright. This was given to me by Avery for my birthday. She gave me 2 skeins of this. There's a lot of yardage, and with the color, with her favorite colors being like pink and purple, I knew I was going to make something for her anyway. And I had picked out, I'd shown you the picture of the little Miss Margo. I guess it's kind of like a poncho, but like, yeah, I guess we'll call it a poncho. And I just thought that this was going to be, this is the perfect timing to get this done. I wanted to make something, and I want to make her like a new little set for the fall and winter. And for the yarn that I have, and for the fact that this is kind of like, they call it an ombre yarn, so it's like a gradient. And I figured a pattern like this, because it's just the front and the back piece with like, you know, stitch work, that it would keep that gradient intact without breaking up with sleeves and shaping, etc. So I did cast this on, and I got a decent amount done. This is about an afternoon's work, and you can kind of see the gradient happening there. It's getting darker as we get to the top, and I have to say, like, I'm really, really enjoying this pattern. It was very easy to get into. These are not cables. These are mock cables made with slip stitches and yarn overs, and so it kind of gives you the look of the cable without like, I mean, cables aren't hard anyway, and I do cables without a cable needle, but the stitch is very easy. I can now knit this, because I basically knit this for a certain amount of inches. I can knit this without referring to the pattern until I get to that length, and then I believe there's probably some shaping for the neck, and then I'm going to be doing a similar piece for the back. Now, I actually delayed myself from casting this on for a day or two because I wasn't completely sure what I wanted to do with this. The yarn that the pattern calls for is a more of a chunky weight yarn, and this yarn is a worsted weight yarn. So the needles were different, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to adjust my gauge or adjust my size or do something along those lines, and use this yarn, like use it as a worsted weight yarn, or the other option I was thinking is I could double this yarn to get more of that chunky bulky weight and then follow the pattern as is. And I almost did that, except I was like, the gradient then is going to be mixed up because I was not going to take the time to like perfectly match the gradient. And then also I was thinking if I did it too thick, I feel like it would be too bulky for the purpose that I would like her to be able to wear it. I really want this to be kind of like a layering piece that pop on when it's just that little bit too cool in the morning and in the evening, but then during the day and in the afternoon it warms up quite a bit and then you don't really need something on. And what I was thinking to do, because knitwear, as nice and snuggly as it is, doesn't always cut like, you know, the cool wind and stuff. I was thinking what I could do is I could line this, like I could line it with either like a flannelette or even a cotton, just to add that little bit extra. And then I think it would be a very practical garment for both the fall and the spring. Now, part of why I was thinking of doubling the yarn was also just to use up the yarn. I have two of these. There is a lot of yardage in here, and I don't want a ton left. Like if I have a lot left of this, I'm not sure what I would do with it. So that's another reason why I was thinking, oh, if I double it, we'll use almost like all of what I have. But what I'm thinking of doing is once I'm done the poncho, or the, you know, whatever it is, the garment, is I might use some of the extras to do, I've been wanting to make her a new winter set, like a cowl and a hat as well. And I think I would have enough at least to do one of those pieces. I'll have to see after I finish the garment. But I'm pretty sure I'll have enough to do at least one of those pieces, maybe both, and then she'll have like a whole little like bright pink set, and I think she'll really like that. And I'll probably line the hat if I do a hat and a cowl. There's a pattern that I like with it's a double, it's got 2 layers, you fold it in. I might do that as well, but we will get to that when I get to those. Let's finish this first. But for the meantime, I am really enjoying this pattern. It's very easy, I think it's very cute, and I think it's going to be very practical for just the season. But I want to get it done so she can wear it when it starts getting a little crisp. Like I said last week, we had a few days that were just bringing in that fall feeling, and then today it's warm, or this week it's warm again, and I think next week it's going to be warm again. So if I could finish this within that time so that it's ready for when it really starts for that cooler weather to start coming, that would be wonderful. So those are the projects that I've been working on this week, and I cannot wait to make a bigger dent on them this coming week. I would love, like I said, I would love to get that Atelier sweater done. Before we get to the pattern highlight that I have for you today, I wanted to briefly talk about the knit-alongs that are going on in the Bling String group. So we have a Breezy Arms cowl going on, and basically any garment that you're making any size, as long as it shows some part of your arm, can qualify for that cowl. So technically if I finish my Atelier, because it's kind of like a 3/4 length sleeve, I could totally put that in there. But it is going to be coming to a close on the end of September because I have my next cowl coming up, and I wanted to mention that just because you gotta get those wheels turning, start planning your projects, and it kind of goes into the pattern highlight, because pretty much all the patterns that are in the pattern highlight would be awesome for the next cowl. And the next cowl is my annual gift along. I've done this for at least 2, 3, 4, I don't remember how long I've been doing this, but every year in the Bling String group in October, we have the gift along, and basically you take October, November, December. It's a 3-month cowl to just work on all those gifts that you need for the holiday season. So it can be any craft. It can be knitting, crochet, it can be baking, it can be paper piecing, it can be, I don't really care what it is, but if you've made it with your two hands and it is a gift for someone else, it can be entered into this cowl. So there will be more details as of October 1st about, just the different details of the cowl. But start thinking about that. That is coming, and Breezy Arms cowl ending end of September. And so now we get to go to the pattern highlight, and I am so excited about this. This is a collection, and it is a beautiful collection. I actually first saw this collection come up on my Instagram feed because I follow Lisa Ross. You know I am a huge fan of her and her work. And this collection popped up, and I saw the pattern, and so I was like, oh, those are really, really pretty. And then I was contacted by her, and both, I didn't realize at first that it was a collaboration. So Lisa Ross collaborated with Kino Knits. This is actually a series developed by Kino Knits. And for this volume, she has worked with Lisa Ross. So that's how I came to know about this whole collection. And then I was contacted by Mary, who's the designer behind Kino Knits, and she was offering this collection as, she's like, oh, just to let you know, we've done this collection, and if you would like to have one for a prize for something, we'd be happy to do that. I was like, oh, that would be awesome, because we have the Breezy Arms cowl ending. And so I wanted to just talk about this collection because, again, the inspiration behind it, how they've worked this out, is just really, really interesting. And I think the designs are really worth taking a look at. So I'm going to pop up the picture with the designs up so you can see them as I talk about them. So again, this is a series started by Kino Knits, and she calls it the Counterpoint volume. So this is now volume 4, and basically it's two designers. She works with another designer, and they use the same yarns, and they each develop a pattern using those yarns, and then they send only a picture of their finished object to the other designer, who then uses the same yarns to create another pattern, so that it kind of creates a set. So even though they were designed by two different people, they coordinate together to create a set. And I didn't realize that Mary has a podcast. It's an audio podcast called Kino Knits. She has a whole website and everything. I'm going to link all this below because it really is worth taking a look at. Her latest episode, 54, she did an interview with Lisa Ross just talking about her design history, and then also they go into depth about this collaboration and just their inspiration, the yarns, how they came up with the names. It was very interesting to listen to. And I've mentioned this before that I do tend to watch podcasts more than listen to them, but there are a few audio ones that I do enjoy for very specific times, like when I have a lot of work to do and I cannot be distracted by the visual pretties. I really enjoy audio podcasts, so I have added Kino Knits to my listening repertoire so that I can keep up with what she's doing, because even having a look at her design catalog, there are some really, really pretty patterns in there. So I was happy to be introduced to this collection just to find another designer that has really wonderful patterns. So these 4 patterns, if you go and check out the pattern page, there is a coupon there where you can get all 4 patterns for $5, which is amazing. If you look at these patterns, that is amazing. So the reason that I thought this was perfect timing was not only was I going to be able to give away this collection as part of the prize for the Breezy Arms cowl, but then you can use those patterns for the gift along, because these patterns would make awesome gifts. I was actually looking at the either fingerless mitts actually, but the ones particularly by Lisa Ross. I think I really like that set. So the mitts by Lisa Ross, called Lateral Quadrants, I think is a really, really neat pattern. I think that would make a really neat gift. I'll have to see. I haven't picked out what I'm going to be making for Avery's teacher this year yet, but also then Mary's hat that coordinates with those mitts, I think is a really cool hat. I love the name. It's Parallelograys, and the way that she described it seems like both of these patterns seem like they would be perfect for the kind of color work that I like to do. Like there's not a ton of stitches between changing colors and stuff like that. And also with her hat, the beginning of the round shifts so that there's no obvious jog where the colors change, so it's like a spiral. That just sounds like it would be a really, really cool pattern to make. So I have my eye on those two patterns. But both of the rainbow patterns too, like the whole collection is just really, really, really well done. So again, I encourage you to go check out that pattern. I will link everything below. I will link the pattern collection on Ravelry. I will link Kino Knits, her website, and the podcast, like her podcast, and I will link everything that I need to link. But I encourage you to go check it out. And yeah, maybe we can see some of those in the gift along, Cal. Maybe some of us can make a few of those. I think they'd really be great if you have anybody on your list for gift knits that you think, you know, either fingerless mitts or accessories or hats or whatever that you would want to make for them. I think these would be really awesome patterns for that. And again, I want to thank Lisa and Kino Knits for donating one of these collections for my viewers. I really, really appreciate that. So next I have my collection, and last week I had two fabrics up for vote. One was hedgehogs and the other one was the book cats, the little cats that were being all sneaky in the piles of books. And the hedgehogs won, and I have to say I love this collection. These colors were out of my comfort zone a little bit. I mean, they weren't completely, you know, pastel or, you know, washed out, because I find I have a hard time really doing subdued yarns, but they were still paler than I normally work with. But I really love how it turns out. I really love the yarn and the pattern. I mean, the fabric's just adorable. Who can say a hedgehog is not adorable? So I have these for you today, and I have 3 bags that I was able to finish. I'm really trying to be doing a lot more sidekicks in my collections. This is the bigger bag, just because I have a lot of the wee sidekicks in my inventory right now. So we're going to go for a bigger bag. So I got one sidekick done with the contrast fabric. I love this fabric that I found. And then the inside fabric, as I pulled out some of those pinks that are in the little flowers. So the inside fabric is this really pretty pink fabric. So I have one sidekick. I have one medium-sized drawstring bag, again with the 2 contrast fabrics. And then I have one wee little bitty buddy. This is my small sock size drawstring bag, again with both contrasting fabrics. I love these bags. I think they're adorable. And then the yarn, I really love how, okay, I think this collection turned out so cute. So the yarn, I kind of pulled that paler blue as the background, and then I pulled all those little colors as the speckles, and I think it turned out really, really cute too. So there's different areas. You can see with this one. There's the grays, there's a bit of browns, there's the aquas, there's the pinks, there's a little bit of this kind of browny orange, but all on kind of a tonal blue base. So this is the yarn, and I'm really happy with that as well. So that is the collection for this week. That will be up in the site shortly, and then I have the vote for next week. And I don't want anybody coming for me for these fabrics. I had one of my viewers, and you know who you are, hello, contact me this week asking if I was going to be doing any seasonal yarns, so like holiday inspired yarns. And typically, I told her, typically I don't. I personally am not inspired by a lot of the traditional holiday colors, like your reds and greens and stuff like that, and I don't tend to do holiday collections. But she was saying that she was actually looking for something that was not your traditional colors. And I got to thinking, and I was like, you know what, I have a lot of holiday fabrics that I don't tend to get to, just because I would like to work with other things. Like seasonal collections are not usually my jam. But she was saying that a lot of the people who have put out holiday yarns have already sold out, and that she was still looking for something. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to look through my fabrics, and if I have some, maybe I'll do that as the collection this week, because that could be a really fun collection to do. And then there's some yarns just in case, because yeah, like as knitters, as much as it seems early, I mean, it's September, I mean, the Christmas stuff, it's coming, but it's not even in stores yet. Like, when you knit, you have to start well in advance, so I get it. But I did find two fabrics in my collection that I think would make really interesting seasonal yarns without being like your straight traditional colors, so I thought I'd put those up for vote this week. And the first one is this one here. And I love the colors in this. So these are all your little, like, you know, when you go on big holiday trip up to grandma's, that's what this reminds me of, is like traveling home for the holidays. You've got your presents and your trees all loaded up there. But even though there is red and green in this print, there is some pops of other colors that I think could be quite interesting. So this option is home for the holidays, so that's your first choice. And then your second choice is this one here. I've always loved this fabric, I've just never gotten around to it. And we're going to call this one, I think, Winter Woods. I don't know. So this is your second choice here. And you can see, like, there's a Christmas tree, and, you know, there's the birds and stuff, but there's also foxes and owls, and there's a deer there, and snowflakes. But again, there is red and green in there, but there are other colors that I think could be brought into a yarn and make it just a little more interesting than your straight red, green, and white. So this is the second option. This is Winter Woods. So let me know in the comments below what fabric you think I should work on for next week. You know what, if the votes are close, I may consider doing a double collection and just making a bigger collection for not next week but the next week. So I'll just have to see how the votes go. But yeah, I think that will actually be really fun to work with. So that's all I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please go check out the Counterpoint Volume 4 collection. The patterns are well worth having a look at. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you get to do all the crafty things that you want to do. And I will talk to you next week, hopefully with something finished. That would be awesome. But yeah, I'll talk to you soon.